good sound, and this. Right, okay. So welcome again. So it won't take long. We'll take you through the course quickly and the exam. Obviously, feel free to stop me. You can unmute, you can raise your hand, whatever, and ask questions. And obviously, we'll have another chat at the end. Okay, so let's start this. So the I'm Mustafa. I've been doing this for the past nearly 3 years now. And the thing that triggered all of this was my educational fellowship in the Western Eye. That was in 2018. Sorry, 2023. And then I was helping the trainees and was leading courses and simulation and stuff. And then I found myself sort of supporting more trainees, and I just thought, why not make this proper and make a proper course. And then gradually it improved and progressed. To start with, it was sort of revision, free revision sessions, and then I properly sat down and made it a proper course. And and as you know, and I love teaching. It's not just about business. It's not just about finances. It's about passion. I really like doing this. And for those who know me, I kind of I'm very accessible and supportive without anything in return. Okay, so whether you're going to sign up for the course or not, it doesn't really matter much. I'm here to support. Okay, so, and I'm sure other colleagues are, and hopefully, if you need anything in the future, just get in touch, and I'll be here for you. That's our job, to support you. Fine. Okay. Um, as you, as you can see, the whole team is just me. Yeah. So for those who kind of, because I've got this before. The Would you mind muting, guys? Whoever joins, just mute. Um, some people have said, the course is very expensive. I really disagree with this, yeah, because of a few things. One, I'm running this solo, yeah, so imagine the effort and time spent in running these things. Second of all, it's the amount of learning material, yeah, so you will never get that amount of learning and interaction, and even out of the course, there is teaching as well. There's the group, there is discussions, there is chatting, informal chatting. We run you through your feedback, that you've had before from your previous sits in the exam. So this always has to be, bear in mind, and you will never find this anywhere else. Okay, most other providers course in, out, done, disappear. Yeah, which is not ideal. You want the full package. Yeah, so you want support until you pass and even afterwards. Yeah, and that's what I can promise you. Yeah, with this sort of thing, you will never find this anywhere. Yeah, I'm really proud of being really committed. Yeah, and again, a consultant NHS job is not easy, and I'm not sure how I'm surviving until now. Again, I've got a family, I've got 3 kids. It's not easy at all. But I'm managing. My wife is supporting me, so she's helping, and we're surviving this, and hopefully it will carry on for years and years to come. Now, um, and as you can see, I have to say, I've been approached by lots of either people who've done the course before, or more senior colleagues who offer their help to support me in the group and the course. But I kind of, politely rejected, or I did not. I really like working on my own. Yeah, I just feel that it's for the best. I feel it's the best way forward, and I like running things in a specific way. And when you've got lots of people, leading on this, it just messes things up, and it doesn't go forwards. I think it's one of the reasons why this has been successful is because I'm doing this on my own. Yeah, I'm my own boss, and I just like running things my own way. Yeah, and thankfully, the feedback has been brilliant. So thank you for those out there who provided feedback in the past. Um, Right. Now, these are our platforms, okay? Obviously, this is the website on the top left, and this is LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube channel. Feel free to get in touch with any of those, so especially the YouTube channel, you'll find lots of videos. And for those who, again, are doing the portfolio pathway route, you'll find a folder for the portfolio pathway and a folder for the FRCOphth. Again, lots of intro sessions, lots of webinars and stuff. Very useful, yeah. So I'd strongly suggest you go into those, and then just feel free to have a play around. We'll talk that in a bit. We'll discuss this, but the website is the main thing to go to if you're willing to sign up on the course. Okay, right. I'll show you a quick video. Again, this is one of the first videos I've done for the course. Hello, are you an ophthalmologist practicing for your oral exam? You've come to the right place. I'm Mustafa Dowidar, and this is Revise and Conquer. Revise and Conquer is an online course consisting of weekly 4-hour-long mock-ups, covering everything you need to know for the exam. One of the biggest benefits of this course is the live feedback and interactive discussions that guarantee you significant improvement in your performance through a simulated exam setting. Another great advantage is the extended time frame of the course, where you will have time to reflect on your learning and read the OSCE and Viva topics we covered. As an examiner at the Royal College of Ophthalmologists and a previous educational fellow, I've developed an immense passion for teaching and gained a lot of experience in the highest field topics and stations relevant to the exam. The course runs for 4 months and is held twice every year around January and July. You will have other flexible options, either to join for only 2 months instead, or even watch the videos recorded if you cannot attend weekly due to other commitments. As you can imagine, the course is quite intense and requires ophthalmologists who are very keen to learn and develop their knowledge and skills. Are you wondering if you can still join the course while studying for another exam other than FRCOphth? The answer is yes, as it's still the same curriculum for all ophthalmology clinical exams worldwide. We all know how stressful and tedious these exams can be sometimes, especially with our very busy schedules. That's why I'm here to help. Feel free to get in touch with me with any concerns or questions you've got. I'm happy to answer any inquiries. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon on the course. Good luck. You can see me there acting, as if I'm sort of, teaching and stuff like this, fake, obviously, but anyway, very bad acting there. But anyway, okay, so I hope the sound was okay on this video, but I'm going to, because I can see that Marine has joined us, and I would like her to speak first, because I think she's traveling. So thank you very much, Marine, for joining us. Are you there? Can you hear me?
It's my pleasure, Mustafa. How are you?
Thank you very much. Thank you much. Thank you much. So Marine works in Pakistan. Is that correct? Yeah. And she's just passed her recent exam, and she's, I believe she's supporting her colleagues there as well, and she's doing her own sort of introductory sessions and supportive session and stuff. So thank you very much. It's always appreciated. It won't take long. Okay, so first of all, I would like to ask you the main reason. I mean, obviously, you've done very well in your exam, and you've done very well in the course. The other benefit of asking you to speak is because you're an overseas candidate, yeah? And that's the main fear of people joining and sitting this exam. Oh, I'm overseas and I've got low chances of passing. So can you reassure people that this is very doable? And if there were any difficulties from your side, what were those and how did you overcome them?
So when I was starting out, I actually did not have any idea what kind of questions will they ask. What do they ask in comms? What about ethics? So I was super curious why my first course that I joined was Mustafa's course, because I thought he gives an overview of everything so I would get a lot of information out of it. And
Right.
it was not only his course. I took other courses too, and the fear disappeared. When I actually read the blue book, I understood that things come out of it. The stations, the things they're asking, they're coming out of it. If I read a few guidelines, maybe I can transform myself. And when I saw different people from UK who were part of different courses, the way they would talk, it transformed me. I learned a few things from them and like applied it on myself, and thus the fear went away. And by the end, I think I was very confident about things.
Good. Obviously, there is no, you are free to take as many courses as you wish. Yeah. And I always, agree. The more you do, the better. That's the golden rule. That doesn't always apply to everyone. Some people find that a bit more stressful or time consuming or, confusing. Doesn't really matter. Just do whatever you feel is best. But I do suggest if you want to do other stuff, whether it's other free courses, other webinars, other paid courses, it doesn't really matter. The more you do, the better. That's more practice. That's all. And you always learn from different people, and then you just come up, we're all adults here, you just come up with your own way of doing things and just applying that in the exam. So it's always good to do more and more. That's fine. Um, okay, and how about sitting the actual exam? You've sat it in the UK, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
why
was
didn't
my
you sit
first
it?
time coming to UK
Yeah. So why did you not sit it in Pakistan then?
because I thought it would be a very long gap between my written and the oral part, and I just wanted to get it done with. I thought that I have few months and I want to utilize and just pass it. So I actually put a lot of effort getting it done.
Yes. And I really agree with your approach. So if you're setting the written, straight do the oral, yeah, because it's the same exam. Imagine it's the same exam, okay? It's just split into 2 days. That's all, yeah, or 3 days. Because you're fresh, you've got all your knowledge in your head, and you just need a quick revision. But if you postpone, it's not really ideal, yeah. It puts you out of the comfort zone, and it's not easier. And obviously in Pakistan it's much more expensive. I'm not sure about how you did the math in your head, the travel, the flights, the visa, the accommodation, whatever. But still, I think including all of those, it would still be cheaper. Is that right? Comparing to
It
staying in
wasn't
Pakistan?
cheaper, but it was like the similar price. So I got
Similar.
to travel
Right.
to and have a good time afterwards.
Right. Another question for you. Obviously, you have not sat the exam in Pakistan, but I'm sure some of your colleagues have, more senior colleagues. Question is the level of competition. Yeah, because you know that in the UK, all the candidates are UK based, whether they're trainees or not. Some of them are local consultants in the UK. They've been here forever. They are really used to the system. Yeah. Now, if you compete with people here, I'm sure it's more difficult than competing with overseas doctors in Pakistan or wherever else in the world. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I think you have to level up because if you're competing with people who are already in the system, they know a lot more than you. But I don't think it's unattainable. When you read things, you realize that these are all the things you can also learn, and you don't need a lot of time to achieve that. So I think one can either sit in the UK or in their home country, whatever suits them.
That is reassuring because people I've got this question a lot from overseas doctors. Where should I sit the exam? What should I do? Even people who I've said it here and they were not successful, should I go back home and do it there? It just feels more comfortable for me for whatever reason. It's not always the rule, okay? But theoretically, yes, competition here is a bit higher, but still, remember the exam is just testing you at a general level. You don't have to be a genius, yeah? Just general stuff. And as you said, reading the book, which I call the Blue Book, it's been now very popular called the Blue Book. I think that's because of me. You do know that there are other lots of blue books, yeah? So that blue book is just a specific one. But for some reason, it's called the Blue Book. Anyway, and doing some sort of course, yeah, that will guide you towards the high-end topics, that show up in the exam. So if you do those well, you should be fine. And obviously, it's the practice. The other thing that maybe I mean, her English is quite good, but others really struggle with the language barrier. Yeah. Now, in the UK, obviously, remember the examiners are still human beings. Yeah. and they get biased and they can miss stuff. They can misinterpret stuff. So language, obviously, I'm not asking you to improve your language and become native English in a few months, but it's practice. So in your home country or even here, you have to practice a lot talking. Yeah, whether that's at home, whether in the clinic, whether in a course. That's the only way to perform better in the exam. Yeah, it's just muscle memory. You have to talk a lot, especially like something in the communication skills. How did you do in the communication skills? Which station have you got?
I got that cataract surgery one. The patient had an astigmatism of 4, and I was supposed to counsel them because my trust did not have a toric IOL. They did not tell me what to do. Should I book him? Should I continue? Should I counsel him that we're not going to go with it? So I did not know what to do. I didn't do very good in it, but I did pass it. It's just because I was practicing a lot and I had like made templates for myself. If I don't know, how will I proceed? How will I inquire what's going on? So I followed those templates and like even I know different UK trainees who had the same thing as I had and they scored the same as I did. So it was equally difficult for all of us. But I
That's good.
think it
That's good.
requires a lot of practice. Comms definitely requires a lot of practice
Yes, I agree.
because we've
It
never
is a
done it.
tricky station. Even those who are very good in English, it's still a bit challenging because it's not something that we do a lot. I mean, technically we do, but not in the exam fashion. Yeah. So that again needs a lot of practice, and that's again another big station that we focus on at the exam. Very, very important station. Um, right. Someone was asking, the written exam is in July. Yeah, but you haven't sat the July one. You've sat the December one. Is that correct? The written exam.
I sat the July one, then I gave my reflection, and then I gave the oral.
All right. Okay. So you did have a gap then, more or less.
Yeah, I did. I did not want to prolong it even more.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. But yeah, the general rule is, just keep it short, so shorten the gap between both as much as you can. That would be my suggestion. Um, and there's a chat box here, so you can just feel free to ask any questions there. Right. And are you planning to come to the graduation ceremony in September, or is that tricky?
Definitely, I'll bring
Good.
you chocolates.
Good, good. Because I'll be there as well because I've done my cert LRS as well. It's the same graduation, so I'll probably meet you there, hopefully. Um,
Amazing.
but that's good. That's good. Um, I don't know. I mean, I haven't. And okay, so let's ask you a couple of questions on the course itself. What have you found the most difficult about the course, or
Difficult
most
thing.
tricky, or the downside of the course? Yeah. So, any comments on that?
Okay, since you're asking me the downsides, I hope you ask me the good ones too later on.
Yes.
So the only 2 downsides I would say was that it was a 64-hour thing, but I was not getting enough practical practice. Like I wasn't getting enough time to speak, and it wasn't time bound, right? Um, Usually we practice in a time bound way so that we can summarize everything in a few minutes and see if we can do it practically. So I didn't feel like it was happening in the course. That was one thing, but it did not affect me because I was practicing on my own every day. So if someone has some that going on, I don't think it would affect them. And the other thing was that at times I would have to stay awake till 2 a.m. at night. At times, like once or twice.
That's a
Those are the
very
two
good
things I can think of.
commitment. That's very, yeah, yeah. Well done to you. You're very committed. Well done. Because the time difference, there's a time gap. That's another again, struggle with overseas candidates is the time difference. Because we usually do it, usually Sunday mornings, usually. But sometimes we split the sessions, and we sometimes do it on a weekday evening for a couple of hours. So that's perhaps when she struggled, to join. Um, so in the course's defense, okay, or in my defense, all right. Now remember that we try and make it as much as exam oriented as possible, uh, but still you'll have to put some discussion there. Yeah, it is a mock exam, so you are timed like 10 minutes or so, or let's say OSCE 6 minutes roughly. Um, it will overrun. It has to overrun because that's the whole point. It's teaching. Yeah, it's not a pure mock exam. If you want a pure mock exam, just take one before the exam and that's it. But there is material that we need to cover, and um, what I usually do is at the beginning of the course, it's more educational, and then gradually, second half of the course, we switch to more time-bound and more sort of strict answers. But even after the 6 minutes is done, we have to spend a few minutes discussing questions, and unfortunately, in some situations, some candidates are too excited, others are too shy to speak. So there is this competition, yeah, and for that reason, I try and cap the numbers of people, signing up. I think last course was about 40. The one before that was 50, so it is up and down. Other people get the course recorded because they don't want to get into that competition, which I would not really recommend, to be honest. It's all about the practice. But either way, and I'm not sure if you are staying for the whole session or not, we are going to discuss that the course will change a bit. Okay, so I've decided to change the format of the course. I'll discuss that in a second, but rather than the full 16 sessions, full mock exams, we're going to go by module first, yeah, in the first 12 mocks or so, 11 mocks. Today will be OSCE anterior segment, next week will be OSCE posterior segment, and so on. So more people get a chance to read things or prepare, or it's more educational. And then the last sort of 4 or 5 sessions would be purely mock exams, and those will be timed and will be more exam oriented. Yeah. So I think we'll try that and see if that sort of overcomes this time-bound issue. And do you think 64 hours is a lot, or do you think it could be shrunk down?
I think the more you get to learn, the better. So I didn't mind the 64 hours. I liked it instead.
Yeah, because that's the main complaint. It's too long. We lose focus at the end. It's too much every week. Yes, I do agree it's too much, but as you said, it's good material. Yeah, so ignore the exam. It's good teaching. You're learning. You're improving as a clinician. So it's very useful. Honestly, and I know a few people actually who are doing the course without sitting the exam next time. They just want to learn and improve, which is brilliant. Um, right. And how about a few positive points then? Anything good about the
Yeah,
course?
thank you. Okay, so the first thing is that the course covers around, I would say, 90% of all the basic things. Okay, it takes you through everything once in your lifetime, and if you have not seen that thing, you would remember. Oh, I saw it in the course. For example, for me, I did not read anything about dry eyes, but when I went into my exam, I had a station, and that it ended up with Sjogren's syndrome. So the only time that I remember during my prep was the time it was mentioned in your course. Okay, no other course touched upon it. So I had a few things from my previous
I don't
memory,
really
but a
believe
lot
that.
from.
So has no one else mentioned dry eyes? I'm sure everyone has discussed dry eyes before. No?
No, they do have structured curriculums, but they did not mention that one exactly. So
Right.
I definitely attribute that one towards your course. And one more thing in my exam was that I don't think there's any place in the blue book where they mention tag study. And we all know that you're a glaucoma person. And very early, I think in the mock 2 or 4, you mentioned tag study. And that's the day I went and wrote it on my book. And I was exactly asked about that study in my exam.
That's
Other
PAX. You're
candidates
talking
were
about
not
PAX. PAX Plus.
tagged, tagged
Tag.
advanced glaucoma
Tag
study.
study. Oh, tags. Okay, yes. Okay. Right. So studies. Okay. Fine.
So they just wanted me to say one study that would guide my treatment. And when I said tagged, they were happy with it. But the other candidates from my batch, some of them were not able to say that. Okay. And then I went back and I checked the OSC clinical book and I saw it over there. It was written because they have this table at the end in which they mention different studies that Blue Book doesn't cover, like 2-liners, 3-liners. So I would definitely recommend the people to read those tables, and especially the last part of that book. It gives you a lot of other information. So the taxity you had told me, I did not read it from the book, so I said it in the exam. 2 things, okay? Other than that, I was able to see the comp station that UCA trainees were performing, and I learned a lot from that. I think your session had the most comp station, and thus I learned the most from that. And I would advise everyone who will be joining the course to definitely book your comp station early on, because at the end, people are fighting over it. Okay, and I was
Yes,
lucky enough that
because
I got one station.
yeah, because that will be a struggle, because roughly every session around 30 people attend or so, and I don't think there are 30 comm stations out there. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. I think it will be a struggle a bit on that day, because now it's modules. Yeah, so every day would be a specific. So one purely for the comms. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with that one, but we'll see. We'll try and keep it short as much as we can. And
I have a
how
few more
about the?
points.
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
So the way the Mustafa's way is that he would ask you, he would just say out your name and you wouldn't know. He will catch you by surprise. So it helps you stay active throughout until obviously you have done your turn. So it really helped me, especially during Ramadan, because I did not have my whole attention span. He would just say
Yes.
randomly, and then you have to be there for it. Okay, that's a good thing. And he would keep you updated. If there is a guideline that is published today and your exam is tomorrow, he would try his best to tell it in the group that this has been published. Okay, and you can just go and read it up a bit. So this is a summary of the good things, I think. There
Now
are
again,
many more, but
go.
these are the ones I can think of right now.
That's fine. That's more than enough. Thank you. The point of calling your name again, I'm sure Marine would agree. It's not that scary. Yeah, we try not to make it scary. I know that some people do not want to talk out loud in front of everyone, especially senior colleagues. Yeah, for whatever reason. Um, it's fine. It's not that I'm going to call your name, you have to answer, or it's not like that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not mandatory. It's very chilled. It's a very friendly environment. It's a nice way to gradually improve yourself, and even if you answer out loud and you're not aware of the case or you mess it up, it's fine. That's how you learn. Okay, better learn it now rather than learn it in the exam. Yeah, that's what I always say. So right. Okay. And how the last question is about the Keeler session, the examination skills. You've attended it online, is that correct?
Yeah, online.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the downside of you being overseas is that you cannot come early. Usually, it's a 1 week or 2 weeks before the exam to attend it in person because of financial issues. Um, it is a shame, I really suggest people attending it in person, but if you're overseas and you cannot come, then obviously attend it online, because it would have been lovely to meet you in person and get you to practice stuff. But I'm hoping that all of the skills you've been practicing already. Yeah, so this is just a refinement. Yeah. And now I'm taking it as a sort of a standard to send on the group of the course the previous session. So we've recorded the previous one. I'm going to send it off so early on in the course so people can practice, and then at the last sort of session at Keeler, they can refine things and reflect on what they've learned and stuff like that. So right, I think I'm done. Has anyone got any specific questions for her before she leaves? Um, Gamal is asking, you can answer that, how to cover other sources besides the Blue Book, from cover to cover, or just miss topics in the Blue Book? What was your approach? Did you open Kansky or did you open Oxford Handbook and read all of it, or what did you do?
I had read Kansky before, so I used Kansky, and only the important topics that are repeated in the exam again and again. I looked into them and wrote down all the extra stuff on my blue book so that I was preparing my revision ahead. I did not want to use multiple books by the end of my preparation. uh, I did not go back to that main book again. And about the OSC book, I only did the main parts. The things I felt like were deficient in Blue Book, like I did not understand much about audit versus research and revalidation, things like that. The last chapter of that book. There's a CRVO, BRVO table, very nicely, a flowchart present in
Was
that
you,
book.
you mean the Oxford training one, not the Oxford Handbook? Is that right?
Yeah, the training book,
Yes. Yeah, well,
OSC.
I'll show it to you now. It is a good book as well, but it's again big. It's
It's
not
too
small.
long. Yeah.
Yeah. It's obviously the more you do, the better. But if you ask me, I think Blue Book plus or minus course, that's fine. And Oxford Handbook is excellent. Obviously, Kansky would be a good way to look for images and stuff like that. And more importantly, and I'm sure you agree, are the guidelines. Yeah, nice guidelines, college guidelines, GMC guidelines sometimes, and we'll discuss those in a second. Those are very important because they want to know that you're basing your treatments on evidence base. Yeah, like the question they ask you, what's your base behind this? Can you tell me any evidence behind your glucometry? Oh, thanks. Why did you offer trap for this patient? Oh, because tags showed blah blah blah, for example. Extremely important. Yeah, at least in the UK. Yeah, they really like evidence-based practice, and you have to mention that in your answer. And again, we'll cover that in a second. Fine. Okay. I'm not going to waste more of your time, so thank you very much for joining us, and wish you safe travels. You're in
You.
Pakistan at the moment? Where are you off to?
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to China.
Ah, nice, nice. I wish I go to China as well someday, hopefully. Enjoy. Thank you,
Thank you
Marine.
much
Feel
about
free
my
to stay.
question.
Obviously, feel free to stay. But I hope I meet you in at the college, yeah, in
Yes,
September, hopefully.
inshallah. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
See you later. See you later. Thank you very much. Okay. Um, right. Let's carry on. I don't think that Chanel is here yet. I don't think she is. When she joined us, we're going to ask her to speak as well. Right. So Marina is very good. Okay, and she's been very active in the group and on the course, and she's really passionate as well. So as you said, she had that disadvantage of being overseas, but that did not stop her. That made her actually come to the UK to sit the exam in the UK. So as you can see, it's very doable. Yeah. Yes, it puts you at a slight disadvantage, but if you do your work well, if you know things okay, you'll pass no problem. Especially that the examiners don't know who you are. Okay, they don't know where you're from. They don't know what your level is. Um, just your name and number. Yeah, and that's it. So there is no there's no there's no discrimination from that side. Okay, so that again another comment that I've heard before. They don't know who you are. Okay, so get that idea out of your head if you can. Right. Okay. Let's move on very quickly. We've done this video. Um, we've spread out very quickly. Yeah, thankfully, and lots of people have joined us from lots of areas around the world. Um, Majority of them UK, obviously, and the Middle East and Far East. Lots of people there. And those are obviously people, whether they're mainly doing the part two oral or the part one or the Caesar course. So, and the last number I remember was more than 600 ophthalmologists, signed up to our courses. So that's in only 3 years, less than 3 years. So I'm really proud of that number. Yeah, that's obviously in addition to the non-course subscribers. Yeah, so I doubled that number. Yeah, because I've been supporting people a lot otherwise. But I always think, I'm supporting this person now. They will get in touch with me later for another course. So it's always good investment to help someone because one way or another, they will get back to me and I will support them with a course. That's what I've noticed. Yeah. So it's always good to be helpful and approachable, and we did not have that when we were sitting the exams. Yeah. So you have to be mindful of that. Yeah. These days, there is no excuse to not, get support or self-learn or self-develop. There's loads of way to do that now virtually. Okay, right. I think where is Chanel? Chanel, she has just joined us. Can you hear me? Hello. You are unmuted, but I cannot hear you for some reason. All right. Yes, I can hear you now. I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Perfect. Hi, yes, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Thanks for joining. Thank you very much.
No worries.
I was with Chanel when she heard the news of her passing, and she was in tears, and she was very happy. And so well done, so well
Yeah.
done. Right, so Chanel is a trainee in the Midlands in Birmingham, sort of deanery, and she is a very well-known trainee, I have to say. You're an ST3 now. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
again,
that's
she's
true.
one of the examples of a not that senior trainee that passed the exam with no problem at all. And I've seen that in a few trainees over the country. And it's really it's really inspiring. Yeah. When you see an ST1 or ST2 sort of, going through their exams very easily, we were not like that at all. I sat the exams a bit later, and it's really fascinating that someone who's still in their second year of ophthalmology, third year, sit the exam and pass with no issue. So that's quite good. Okay, and I'm really glad that you've done this. You're a good example. Now, my first question is, how did you find the exam? So remember that, I've got lots of people doing the course who are consultants, okay, whether in the UK or overseas. Yeah. The big question is, how tricky was it to go through your preparation and your exam when you only have 2-3 years experience in ophthalmology? What's your comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say is that it's definitely harder doing it more junior because you just have more gaps to learn. Like it was a bit overwhelming because I think there's like a journey when you go to ophthalmology. So when you're in ST1, you obviously know nothing. When you get into ST2, you get a bit of confidence because that learning curve kind of levels off and you actually start to get a bit sort of almost overconfident because you can kind of feel like, oh, I'm actually really good now. Like I know loads of things. And then I felt like I went down again in my confidence because suddenly I was reading chapters that I didn't even know existed. And I was just learning it from scratch and I hadn't necessarily done much clinically. So, from a learning perspective, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming when you're starting. The only good thing I would say, especially just about the West Mids, and that's purely just my experience, is it is a harder place to train because they're definitely not one of those deaneries that like hold your hand. They pretty much like threw me in from the get-go. And it was pretty difficult, I would say, from SD1, but it just meant that clinically, I think I got better faster and it's a
You
harder
learned
way to
quickly.
train.
Yeah, you learned quickly.
Yeah, and you learn quickly. Like there's places like BMEC that, I was practicing in a lot. Like I was doing a lot of weekend shifts or during my exams or preparing for them, I would just come in and would just see patients because there's just like 200 patients a day coming through BMEC and they're all complex patients.
Yeah.
The exam was in Birmingham. And I remember like some of them probably I could have ended up seeing, but it's one of those things where like the type of patients that were coming in were very clinically relevant for the exam. So there were certain things that kind of helped me, but it's definitely one of those things where you do have to do actually a lot of reading if you're going to do it like at an early stage because you can't just like waffle your way through, like they're going to know. And you also can't be like quick enough to answer the questions if you don't know it. So it's definitely not something you can kind of sort of like breeze by. So I say it's a mixture of learning and like a mixture of clinical, but it's definitely like practicing. So every single patient you see, like practicing the indirect on everybody, like no matter what. They could have a foreign body, but you go through the pupil assessment, you go through the indirect assessment, you go through like a direct assessment. So like 10 patients in clinic you see that morning, and all of them have had an indirect. It just means when you come to the exam, it's easy because
Easy.
you've
Yeah.
just done it like the back of your hand. So
Yes.
it's getting that.
I
And then
agree.
when you're practicing as well, like thinking of like what you're going to say and like, okay, I'm looking at the lids. Um, they look fine, anatomically normal, no MGD. Looking at the conj, appears white and quiet. Cornea appears clear, no KPs. ACC deep and quiet. Like working through it like systematically as you would like in the actual exam, so you're already in the mentality of what you need to be doing,
Yeah.
and then like coming up with your own like diagnosis and differentials and plan. So I think stuff that you would do in clinic, but just more in an exam format. And I guess that will really help doing like this kind of course in terms of
Of course. Of course.
getting that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Because some people are actually too concerned to sit it that soon. They've passed their reflection written, but they're a bit sort of suspicious about the oral. Should I wait? Should I, sit it and get it done and over with? My suggestion is with these things, the sooner the better. Okay, all of us have got commitments, and it doesn't get any easier. Okay, family, uh, other sort of commitments. Fellowships, you want to progress, you want to focus on your fellowship later on. A couple of years you'll be starting your fellowship, so you need to get this out of the way. And the other important thing is the way other people look at you. No matter what you say, no matter what you think, someone who's done the exam is different than someone who hasn't. Yeah, you always think, oh, she's done the exam, she'll be fine. Yeah, there's always this trust, and it's a credibility. Yeah, so and they will give you more to do, and they will trust you more, and allow you to progress quicker if you've got the exam. Especially for those again doing their portfolio pathway route. Having the exam is essential, and having the exam would satisfy the assessors and whoever signs you off that you've done the skill. Why should I sign you off again? You're fine, something like that. And even for the trainees, you don't have to run off and say, oh, I need to sign off an ultrasound or sign off whatever. You've done the exam, so you should be able to do these things and know how to interpret them and stuff like that. So it certainly gives you an edge when you want to progress, and certainly when you want to start looking for fellowships. It's always a bonus, yeah, especially if it's a competitive job, like cornea or VR or whatever. It just gives you an edge over the other candidates. So well done for you for doing it early. That's the best thing to do. Okay, the other question is your preparation. So you mentioned that you had a very busy schedule. What was your main sources of prep, like textbooks and sources? What did you do?
Yeah, so I basically used the Blue Book. That was like the Bible. So I started from there. In a way, I wish that I'd started a bit earlier using the Blue Book, because I think my first thing that I did was sign up to your course actually. And I was just sort of getting a feel for the kind of topics that came up. What I would have done in hindsight was read the Blue Book after each session and gone through those sections in a little bit more detail. Because what ended up happening was I attended quite a few sessions, realized I hadn't really taken them all in. So by the time it got to kind of like January, February, I was feeling like I was still starting those topics from scratch. But essentially, I used the Blue Book. I would definitely read it back to front multiple times, take notes, and then if there's anything you still don't understand, I would supplement it with the Oxford Handbook, because some of it's not actually covered in the Blue Book, and that's the catch. So you could be caught out in the exam if you haven't covered some topics. For example, like dry eyes came up in my, say, patient management section, and that was literally only because I'd read that in the Oxford Handbook. So it's definitely not comprehensive, but I would definitely say it's the best place to start in terms of giving you like the best overview of everything in the Viva and the OSCE. And I would say there's still enough in there for you to pass, but if you want to do well, like it is best to, have almost read the Oxford Handbook, but I definitely didn't have enough time to do that. So it was just supplementing things in the Oxford Handbook, but using the Blue Book as like the Bible.
Because you agree, you won't have time to cover everything. Okay, this is the
Yeah.
good thing about the exam is that you don't have to know everything. You just have know enough and how to present it properly. That's the main thing. If it's something too complex, if it's something too rare, no one would know it anyway. Yeah, and that's fine. So as if this station is ignored. Okay, it's out of the equation unless this sort of nerdy specialist there who knows this sort of weird syndrome, but it's not going to affect the total score. Just think about it that way. And obviously the very easy stations as well, they're not really counted because everyone will know them. It's the ones in the middle, yeah, which you have to get properly well, and you have to do well in those, because if you don't, your colleague will be ahead of you. um, and how about guidelines? So did you open nice guidelines a lot, college guidelines and stuff like that?
So my tactic, to be honest, was common things are common, and to know the basics really well. So conditions, all of that I learned really well. And the guidelines I actually left not to the end, but towards the end of the revision, because one, I think because they like changing all the time, sometimes maybe what was relevant 2 years ago or something that, someone had given me in a book was actually not correct anymore. And it was helpful having like courses to like discuss with people like what is the most up-to-date guideline, say for diabetes, that has changed quite a lot recently. So I didn't read any of them like back to front. Someone did help me and gave me like a little book with like a lot of the studies and some of the guidelines, and that was really helpful for like a basis. So I would find, if you can, there must be loads out there that people have already. I would ask your friends if people have taken them for like little snippets of like guidelines that they have. And then I would then double check when you're doing your revision if they've changed or if they've been updated. I'd say that's the best way
Very
to do it. And I would
important.
leave it
Very
towards the
important.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you don't need to remember like long term, and you can kind of just remember it closer to the exam. And actually, a lot of the guidelines and the studies, they're quite helpful to managing the guidelines. So, for example, the cornea head study, it's exactly what we do in clinical practice now. So it does really influence like how you think. And you're like, oh wow, okay, this study was done, and actually this is now why we do it in clinical practice. So it is useful to actually know about them and learn them. And if that helps with your revision, then that's great as well.
Yeah, yeah. Someone is asking about the college website. The RCOphth website is difficult to navigate, and the guidelines have to be searched for individually. There are like, I don't know, 200 guidelines there or something. And she's asking, is she doing something wrong? How would you able to choose?
Don't do that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
never
So
did that. Don't do that. Don't
which
do
ones
that.
did you choose? I mean, why did you choose that one or not this one? What did you do?
So to be honest, I was very like I did not have the time. Like I'm ST3, so like my knowledge is already limited, and I was like I just done the written in December. I've got 3 months, and I'm doing a pretty busy job right now as well at BCH. So what I did was essentially the blue book is really good for knowing like which ones are RCOP studies that you need to know. So just start there because not everything is going to come up. Even in my exam, not that many came up, to be honest, but they will ask about one or two in detail. So it's good to know like the common ones like the Eagle trial or like some that should literally be off the tip of your tongue. You should learn all of those. With the RCOP guidelines, there's things like ocular transplantation, and it's all in the blue book. So I would start there. And to be honest, it's easier now because you've got like ChatGPT. You can just say, like, summarize this guideline for me. And obviously it's not 100% correct, so you can always double check, like if you want to read through that teeny little bit in the guidelines. But I would definitely not waste your time because you're not going to read the guideline and just suddenly take it in. I would almost rewrite the guideline in your own words so that if someone was to ask you, tell me about the Eagle study, you can say da 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 da, and it's just literally 3 lines. So I would say it's better to learn 1 line about maybe 50 studies than like 50 lines about one study, because at least if you know a little bit about it, you won't be stuck when it comes to the exam. So I'd say actually breadth over depth for the guidelines and for the studies.
Correct. Because you won't be able to take this all in. Impossible.
You're not going to remember it, and you're going to get into the exam
unless you've got I don't know, a photographic memory or something, which I doubt. So, but I totally agree, and it's something that you will forget very quickly. So it might be worth, as you're revising early on from the blue book, and obviously supplemented by the other textbooks. Any guideline, just quickly go through it, use ChatGPT. That's a very good idea as well to summarize. And then before the exam, maybe have a quick look at it as well. And obviously, we're going to cover all of the important ones in the course anyway. And I'm going to tell you, this is 10 out of 10 important. This one is 5 out of 10, and that sort of thing. If it's not that common, ignore it. If you run out of time, she's only got 3 months to prepare, ignore it, okay? Even if it comes up, no one will know it anyway, yeah? So you have to think that way. You don't have to know everything before the exam. But that being said, I think once in Cairo they asked about the CAT trial, which is one of the very early on trials about intravitreal injections for Avastin. So that was weird, and they asked in detail. So it's a very rare incidence, but trust me, no one knew it. So I think all of them messed it up. And that's why the examiners would be less strict with the marks in that station. And no one knew it, so why bother? That sort of thing. Right.
But having said that, so CAT is definitely one of the trials that you should know about. So as long as you don't know 0, that's when you'll really get messed up. It's just knowing that it's an intravitreal trial and it's for this particular one. that will almost get you halfway. So it's really, I think, just knowing a little bit
And you
about
always
everything.
say it showed, that Avastin has no superiority over whatever. It's not inferior to whatever else. So that's the common thing that you always say in
I'm
many
being
presentations.
confident when you say it.
Yes, even
Somehow
if you're
that
saying
actually adds a
BS,
lot.
if you're saying BS, you still say it with confidence. It will work usually. No,
Yeah.
trust me, honestly, it's an act. It's an act, and you have to be confident. And remember, the examiners don't know everything as well. They even might be outdated than yourself. So you have to be confident of what you're saying. As long as it's not total nonsense, you will be fine. So it's a skill. Okay, it's a skill. It's acting. It's a performance, and it has to come with practice. No other way. I think what helped her is actually her deanery. You were saying that deanery didn't help. Actually, I think that sort of throwing at the deep pit early on, that's the only way that you could have learned properly and done this in confidence. If you were in a quieter place, no way. Yes, you might have spent your time studying more, but that's not enough. That might be okay for the written, but not for the oral. The oral, you need patience. You need to examine patience. I think that's priority.
You do.
And how did you find the Keeler session at the end?
Yeah, I thought it was good because you kind of get in your own little bubble when you're revising. And I definitely had neglected the examination to an extent, not in the sense like I wasn't practicing, but more there's the difference between knowing how to do an exam and knowing the exam technique that you need for the exam that the examiners want to see. So that's like getting that in your head of like, these are the steps that I need to follow rather than, okay, I've done an anterior segment a million times before, like incorrect. No, there's like a right way to examine this anterior segment, or there's a right way to have a look at the fundus, or there's a right way to do a lid exam. And if you miss any of those steps, you'll start losing marks. So it's just a way of like feeling that you're kind of doing all the right steps, and we'd gone through them in a lot of detail in person all together, and that had kind of like solidified my examination technique, because then it was 2 weeks before the exam, which was actually perfect, because then I felt that I was in exam technique mode. And then every single day in the morning, I would go into the hospital, I would spend like 4 or 5 hours examining people, and then my afternoon would be just book revision. So I kind of leveled it out. So half was exam practice, half was just book reading. So it was like a good balance of what I needed to be doing.
Do you think that session should be early on in the course?
There's arguments for and against, and I think at the time I was like, oh, I wish I'd done this earlier so that when I was in the hospital I could have been practicing a bit more. So I mean, maybe it's worthwhile trialing it and see what people think. I mean, maybe even like a month in advance, maybe you could trial it and see if that makes a difference, because it was helpful.
Yeah, because I've now decided to send the recording for the next course early on. So when we start in a month or so, I'm going to send your recording from the last one in that new course, so they can watch and then start practicing early, and then at the end they can refine and do the sort of last revision before the exam. So that might be a midway of doing things.
I think there's no like right way or wrong way, but I definitely think like the exam is half the exam. So whether, I mean, to be honest, maybe because I was doing so much exam on my own, that's why I didn't feel like I necessarily lost anything. But I do think if you haven't been practicing, that would have been useful to almost be like, wake up, you need to like be doing more of this from a like earlier point. So it might be a good idea. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Fine. And last question is, what did you find most tricky about the course? Not the exam, the course. I'm not going to ask you about the good things, okay? You're going to rant on a whole lot of great things about the course, so that's fine. But what are the downsides? That's what I'm interested in, and what can we do better next time?
Yeah. I think the main downside probably was because they were like 4-hour sessions and they were every Sunday, they were very long. And from a personal point of view, I guess I was quite like active on there, and I would like sort of volunteer to get involved. But I think you can spend like 4 hours, and to be honest, it doesn't matter how exciting the course is, you do just start to kind of check out sometimes.
Lose the interest.
Yeah, because it's like 4 hours, and maybe you did 1 or max 2 stations in 4 hours.
How would you
And
overcome
obviously the
that?
main,
Because
yeah.
how if you were the main boss, what would you do differently?
So if I was to do a course, I would probably make it more like exam style. So it's maybe it's good at the beginning when you're first learning and you can chat through the topics, but I almost found it was more of a conversation. It was like, okay, what would you do if you see a patient with ocular pigment dispersion syndrome? What would you do? And then you kind of like start talking. They were like, okay, and then how would you manage this? It's not very like
Exam oriented, right?
exam orientated, yeah, because
Right.
the exam is very high pressured, and I felt like I was getting almost like a false sense of protection because I was
reassurance.
feeling like, oh, I'm doing fine because I know this, and like I'm
I
telling
understand
you,
what you mean.
but I
Right.
was doing it in a very leisurely, like 10-minute kind of like we're having a chilled
Because
hangout session.
if you remember, we started the mocks from day one, but now I'm going to change because of that specifically. So I'm going to change the way I do things now. I'm going to have like 11 sessions per module. Yeah, so still the same sort of video setting, discussions, emails and stuff, but not in a proper mock exam. So today we're going to do OSCE anterior segment, next week will be posterior segment, and so on. And then the last 4 sessions would be purely mock exams, exam oriented, timed, stressed, scary, that sort of thing. So that might be a way of overcoming this sort of issue. Because that comment, I've heard a lot. Others were happy with it, but I think, yes, I mean, technically speaking, people would want to start with something more educational teaching, and then gradually we jump into more, exam-oriented sessions, timed. Although I'm pretty sure that time will probably overrun as well, because it's not an exam and it's all teaching, So after the time is out, we're going to discuss the case. That's the whole point, yeah. So it will be long still. And going back to my main question, there's no way to answer it properly. There is no way to make it shorter because I tried to take out a few cases, but actually all of the cases show up in the exam, and they did show
and
before.
Just to say, I'm not saying it's too long. That's actually not the issue. I think like that's very good value for money. I just mean that sometimes the actual times when people are saying, oh, do you want to do this case? It's almost like making that section as exam sort of likely as possible. So reflecting like the exam format as much as possible compared to say like just spending 10 minutes talking about a condition, like actually being like, right, I'm the examiner, you're going to be the the candidate, and like letting it play out the way that it would. And obviously at the beginning everyone's really bad. But I don't know if that would be helpful.
Get out. You're
yeah.
I understand what you mean. That's fine. Okay. Right. Has anyone got any questions for Chanel? Where are you off to next? From August, where are you going to?
I'll be at Brussels Hall from August.
And which specialty would you be doing? Which firm?
Cornea and plastics, which I'm excited about because I've been waiting for a cornea plastics job.
Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
That would be fun. I'm sure that would be fun. Right. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. That's been very helpful. And obviously, if anyone wants either Chanel's or Marine's contact as well, just let me know. I'm sure they would be more than happy to support and help. But yeah, otherwise, good luck. And are you coming to the ceremony in September? I'm sure you are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, because I'll be there, so I'll probably see you. Because I've just passed my cert LRS as well, so we're graduating with you as well. So yeah, so that should be fun. Yeah.
So, amazing. Yeah, it'll be good to see you.
Cool.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do you too. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Right. Okay. Let's carry on. I think we've done this part because we're running a bit over time. Statistics about the exam. As you can see, obviously this exam has been running forever, and it's up and down. Okay, so those reports are on the website. Okay, so these are open access; anyone can see them, and they're helpful. Okay, you don't have to read the whole report, but the average pass mark is about 67%, 65%. It's not too bad. Okay, whether it's in the UK or outside the UK, occasionally you see 100%. So all of the candidates have passed, but that's because the number of candidates are so low. Like in India or in Pakistan or something. In Pakistan, in February 24, only 2 candidates sat the exam, and both of them passed. So it skews the number a bit. So it's roughly 65%, 67. Yeah. Thankfully, our course, most of the candidates achieve around 80%. And arguably enough, it's 100% because if you don't pass it from first go, the second go you sit down and then you sit the exam again and you pass. So they always sort of text me the next go round. Oh, Mustafa, I finally passed. So it's first go average 80%, which is very good. You don't need more than that, So I think if you do whatever course you want, if you want to guarantee an 80% chance of success, then go for the course, provided, and make that in bold, that you're going to participate in the course. Okay, the course is hands-on. The course is interactive. It's hard work. It's not easy. It needs commitment. It needs you not being shy. Okay, because you have to speak out. Yeah, and it's very informal. It's very friendly. No one will sort of point fingers. We're all learning. Even myself, I'm learning. Because lots of more senior colleagues are actually joining this course, and they will help us with their own experience. And it's always good. You always find that sort of odd debate sometimes, and it flares up discussions, and you do this way. Actually I disagree. And on the course, on the group, they sort of send sources or guidelines or whatever, and they sort of debate. It's always good. Okay, so medicine is always debatable. There's never only single one way of doing something. So it's always nice to have these discussions, and it's useful for everyone. Okay, and it's extremely useful for myself because I'm up to date with my knowledge. Yeah, so imagine I'm doing this 4 months, twice a year. That's 8 months, repeating the same guidelines, repeating the same issues, same cases. So I'm always on top of it. Yeah, it's a huge advantage from my end. Right. So usually, the candidates in general do better in the Viva because it's technically easier. Okay. The OSCE is more important. Okay, because the OSCE bears more weight, and if you pass the Viva so well, but then the OSCE you lose it by 2-3 marks, you won't pass the exam. Yeah, you have to pass the OSCE. No way. Yeah, the OSCE is more important, which makes sense. Yeah, Viva is all theoretical. There's no patience, but the OSCE is important. So, and thankfully, in what I've noticed in that my course, more people do better in the OSCE because they practice more. Yeah, and I'm guiding them to examine more patients, and they're attending the KIL sessions, so they're more confident from that side. And that's much more reassuring and guaranteeing you to pass in the exam. Right. And by the way, that number is getting bigger. Yeah, so they're trying to expand more across the whole sort of globe, and they're opening more centers. I think they will try and open one soon in China. That's another center they're trying to open. So more people are doing the exam, and more people are doing the course as well. Right. So how are you assessed in the exam? Obviously, this is the Viva. Okay, 5 stations. Easier, I have to say, easier than the OSCE. No patient. Okay, you're sitting in front of 2 examiners, maybe an observer next to them, sometimes an assessor from the college. They're assessing the examiners. Making sure that they're sticking to guidelines, and they're doing it properly. They're not sort of discriminating or whatever. So they're assessed from that side as well, and that will be the person to speak with later on if you have any issues. Okay, so if you think, oh, this exam was not fair to me, or I had a hiccup and whatever, my indirect was not working. So these people would be the to speak with, because they will flag it up to the senior examiner, and then they will deal with it. And I always sort of suggest doing this early on rather than later. Yeah. So on the day, if you had an issue, flag it up on the day. It's your right, yeah. So investigations, 2 patient managements, attitudes, audit, research, medicine, health promotion. Each one of those is 10 minutes. Like for example, investigation and data interpretation, you can get 2 stations, and I mean 2 different sets of investigations. That's fine. Patient management is usually 1 case, lots of questions. Again, 2, another case. Attitudes is usually a scenario, and okay, tell me what would you do? A wrong lens implanted, what would you do? An alcoholic colleague, what would you do? So it's a situation and you have to deal with it. And usually it's based on guidance. And usually that guidance is in the GMC or the college website. But usually it's the GMC. So good medical practice, that's your main go-to. And we'll cover it in a second. Obviously, audit, research, evidence-based medicine, these are all sort of guidelines and stuff like that. And all usually based on a case. So this is diagnosis of AMD, blah, blah, blah. What would you do? Tell me what's the base behind it. Yeah. Health promotion, disease prevention, usually again, some guidelines, either at the college website or on the GMC. Usually I get something clinical and, these are a few cases that we'll go through. Communication skills is an Viva station. Sorry, it's an OSCE station because there's a patient, but it's done on the Viva day. Yeah, and you see that there, okay? Very important, okay? So this is the most important station in my opinion. And it needs skill, it needs practice as we discussed. So you have to focus on that, okay? Otherwise, these are the OSCE sort of stations. Most of them are easy. Usually you need 3 cases, yeah? Whether it's hybrid, so they try to get more patients, but if not, then videos, this is not a rule, okay? Like some centers, they cannot find patients, yeah, and all videos, for example, but this is usually outside of the UK. You have to do the 3, okay? If you mess one up real bad, you're not going to overrun and not do the other 2. The examiner's role is to progress you through the 3, yeah, and mark you against the 3. If they do not progress you through the 3, they will get marked down, yeah? So the assessor will know, and that means that you're not keeping up to time. There's something wrong with the setup of the station and so on. So it's unlike other exams like FRCS that, if you do one, then you lose a station or 2 or whatever. It's only when you do 3 you'll pass. It's not the case in the FRCOphth, okay? The most tricky ones are the strab and neuro, okay, as most of us would agree, because we don't sort of manage these cases a lot. And these we really focus on, okay, so that would be a big impact on our course, and usually most people, do less in these stations. So, but we'll crack it, we'll be able to do it. Someone was asking, I've never examined patients with lamellar corneal grafts or K-Pro devices or iStents or Ozurdex, things like that. How common are those in the OSCE? Should I make efforts to see such things like, okay, so lamellar corneal grafts, out of the question. You have to see patients with any type of corneal graft, okay? So PKP, obviously, DELC, less common, DMEC, okay, or the DSEC, those do show up, okay, like a Fuchs dystrophy. One eye has got some subtle guttata, the other one is crystal clear, and then something like hazy, like an interface in the back of the cornea, a DMEC, for example. Very common, okay? One of the previous exams, they had a DMEC, and then people sort of started discussing it as a LASIK flap, a PKP, and it's clearly that just means that you're not examining the cornea properly, yeah? Even if you don't know what that is, you were not able to pick up that this line or that circle is at the back of the cornea, not at the front of the cornea, yeah? Because LASIK at the front, yeah? But DMEC is the back. So it just means and shows to you how much important is the proper examination, yeah? So focusing the beam properly, magnifying, checking the layers, very important. It just really looks embarrassing. It looks bad when you're not able to know where that level is, yeah? Of that lesion, whatever it is. So yeah, definitely lamellar grafts. K-Pro, not really, no, because they're not common. The artificial sort of corneal grafts. Stents, we do it a lot, but you don't do gonio on the exam. Yeah, it might be a video, but it's unlikely. Although that being said, one of the cases had a hydrus, yeah, and the hydrus was in the nasal angle. Usually you should not be able to see it face on like that, either gonio, but that one was under-implanted, so there was a very tiny metallic thing in the nasal one, and it was there, and most people missed it, yeah. I think it's a bit mean, but it was there. It was in London. So it might show up in the exam, but we'll discuss those as well. Even if you don't pick it up, at least you need to know what are the types of mixed devices that we use nowadays, because they're very common. Orthodontics implants, you should be able to see an implant. I'm not aware that one showed up recently, but I've got a very nice video of an implant hanging like that behind the lens because it was injected too anteriorly and it's sort of stuck on the vitreous and just walking like that. I think the patient was aphakic. And obviously the discussion is if it goes to the front of the eye, what would you do? Is it urgent to take out? And so on. So, but when you go into the exam, you always have to have that thinking that anything is possible. Yeah. Because you're finishing this at a level of a consultant. Yeah. And you will face anything in real life. Yeah. So do not pick and choose topics to cover. You have to know everything, okay, if possible. But what's common is common. I do not care if you miss a weird fundus dystrophy. Yeah, it's not common. But I will care if you miss a big iris defect, or you miss a huge trab in the conch. That means that you lack basic examination skills. Yeah, if you've never heard of how to manage an endophthalmitis, it's really worrying. Yeah, so just focus on the important topics and big ones, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Right. What else? Okay, so how you, the OSCE, that's obviously there's an iPad, and each examiner has got an iPad, and they sort of mark you, and it's sort of a weird way to do it, to be honest. It's slow and sometimes glitchy, and you have to sort of type, and it could be better, in my opinion, but it's working, okay, and I think it's the best they can do at this stage. Maybe in the future will be easier, but 2 examiners, and in the OSCE, it's split. Okay, the first half. So this is patient 1, patient 2, and first half. Let's say patient 1, 3 marks, and then the second half is 3 marks as well. First half is examination. That's why examination skills is half of the mark. Yeah. Technically speaking, if you do the examination rubbish, yeah, you're not able to pick up signs, but for whatever reason you do very well in the second half, I'd be very surprised if you pass this case. Yeah. Why? Because in real life it would not be acceptable not to be able to examine cases and pick up signs. Yeah. The other way around is okay. Yeah. Because in the management, you can pick up a few things even if you're not entirely sure, but at least you've examined properly. You're aware of your technique, you're confident, and you've given them a sensible differential. Yeah, that should be fine. And then the examiners will have a discussion once you exit the room. What do you think? I've given him a 1. Actually, he's done well in this, and I've given him a 2. Okay, I'm going to change it to a 2, and they come to that agreement. Yeah, and theoretically, they should not be far off by more than 2 marks. So I've given you a 3. My colleague should not give you a 0 in that question, in that half. Yeah. Either I push it down to a 2 or he puts it up to a 1. Yeah. That's just to be fair, and they have to come to some sort of agreement. Yeah. That's the OSCE, more or less. Obviously, 3 cases or videos / patients, examination, and then differential. That's the first half, and then the second half is the diagnosis. Okay, what do you think this is, and how would you treat it? It's not a general question. It's usually a very specific question. Tell me the difference between a congenital and an acquired fourth. Tell me how would you treat this case of ocular hypertension. So very specific questions. Unlike the Viva, you've got more time. Okay, so you can talk. But in the OSCE, it's very in-out, very quick. And you have to learn how to be quick, especially if you're an ophthalmologist. You cannot faff around. You cannot waste time. You have to be very quick in clinic, and similarly in the exam. OSCE is all about just to the point, ignore, I'm not sure, I'm going to take a medical history, I'm going to ask about drugs that he's on, I'm going to ask about Timolol drops, I'm going to ask about, nonsense. Yeah, so all of this is a waste of time. The other thing that really annoys me is when people sort of go in and spend like a whole minute introducing themselves and asking the patient, I'm going to examine your eyes. Would you mind, if and if anything goes wrong, please let me know. I'm really sorry if this. Yes, that's okay, but don't, don't take it overboard because it's a waste time. And the examiners are not happy with that, by the way. And you're wasting time sort of looking for the hand gel. Yes, it's important, but not the most crucial bit. Yeah. So quick, in, out, quick. Yeah. And we'll discuss that in a second. A few tips and tricks for the exam, but it's only 6 minutes per case roughly, because 20 minutes per station and it's 3 cases, so roughly 6 minutes per case and maybe a couple of minutes for them to mark and stuff. That's the OSCE, in, out, quick. The Viva, it's a similar sort of assessment. Again, there's lots of what do you call it? Like STEM questions, usually 4 questions. Okay, each question again has got a marking scheme, and they ask you a few questions, and it's all a discussion. There's more flexibility in the time because it's 10 minutes. So if it's a management case, lots of questions, and when they tell you management, you have to take it from A to Z. Yeah, so starting with the history very quickly, but you have to again bear in mind the time. Yeah, so be quick. And it's, from my experience, usually it's not a very vague question. Okay, it's not management of open-angle glaucoma. It's very specific. Yeah. So tell me about the tests you're going to do in clinic. Tell me about the management. Let's say examination-wise, what would you do? Treatments. What are the options? How would you base the treatment on? That sort of thing. Yeah. And maybe ask you about a guideline or something, or ask you about a study. That's sort of. No patients, obviously, yeah? And no videos. So it's always a photograph. All right. Fine. This is an example of one of the feedback that you get from after you pass exam. And your colleague, he's done very well. He was one of my top actually performers, and that was last year, I think. He's done very well. Now, as you can see, the examiner A and B, let's say the OSCE for this case, they give him 3s, which is brilliant. That means that they're very happy, and they don't write much. Yeah, they don't write why was he a genius. Yeah, but however, if you miss something important and if they want to mark you down, they should write it down. Okay, he's missed this point. He thought it was that, and then it was that. Why? Because when you complain later on if you don't pass, they have got the reason. It's written down. I've marked you down because you haven't done this. From my opinion, I'm the examiner, I'm the boss. So I think you've marked down because of this. Yeah. But if you've done well, they don't usually bother. Yeah. And they just write sort of very, generic comments. Let me tell you another example. So let's say I'm just going to open another one. Accurate function. And these obviously are automatic. Yes, they open. They don't type it. They just pick the diagnosis or the comment. Rarely examiners do that. Yeah, they don't write all of that. But I just want to write or show you an example where he did not perform that well. Let's say he got a 2 there. So I'm sure he's mentioned something. Prompting. Yeah, so prompt to seek orthopsis assessment. Prompted to mention orbital decompression. Yeah, so. And that's the reason why he got 2. So if they did not write that, yeah, then he'll complain. I've mentioned all of these points. Why did you give me a 2, not a 3? Yeah. Obviously he wouldn't because he passed very well actually. But if it's a borderline fail or whatever, then there is a chance of the candidate complaining. So that's why general teaching in the exam is to avoid missing those sort of things. But anyway, you get the idea. We'll talk through a bit more of this in the course, but that's how things are marked. Yeah, so and obviously each examiner has got an iPad and they mark together and stuff like that. Fine. Okay, let's move on. Someone was asking a question, I think. Sayeda was asking if due to any reason someone missed an important sign or diagnosis and the examiner tells the diagnosis and she says he's fine, would she pass or fail? There's nothing called if you miss one diagnosis you'll fail. Yeah, that doesn't happen. It's a general assessment. Yeah, it's quite common to examine the patient properly, but still you don't know the diagnosis. Yeah, which is fine. Yes, rather than getting a 3, you might get a 2 because it's not fair. Your colleague before you got a 3 because they knew the diagnosis. So you might get a 2, but does that mean a fail? No. Yeah, so you will fail if you have no clue what you're doing. If you're messing up the examination, if you miss a artificial eye, very common by the way, yeah. So I've said that a million times and people still miss it. So in a video, you've got your excuse. That's a video, it's a rubbish one. But if it's a patient, no excuse. Okay. If you mess up the examination, you don't know how to use the direct, for example, you're not sure how to do the cover uncover test, those sort of big things, then you'll fail. That being said, if you even fail in that case, doesn't mean that you'll fail the whole station. Yeah, because you might do very well in the next station or the next case. And overall, yes, you might be borderline, but you still pass. Yeah. Remember, if you fail the whole station, again, that doesn't mean that you'll fail the whole exam, because there's a curve. There is maybe other stations that you'll do well. So again, one of the tips I'll say is if you do no, if you're in bad luck and you start off with the strap station, for example, don't feel put down, okay? Because you will do better hopefully in the next stations. Yeah. But just do your best. Do not think, oh, I've missed this diagnosis, I've failed. It's not the case at all. All right. And remember, you don't have to rank top marks. Just have to pass. That's the whole thing. And it's not that tricky. Okay. Sources. Please do not read all of those. Yeah. As we discussed, you have to be picky and you have to be very exam oriented. And these exams, this is your main go-to. Okay. And this is the second edition. Excellent book. Okay. And they've changed things a bit from the previous version. They've added a few studies. It's better. Okay. But still, I always suggest if you see guideline, open up the source and make sure it's up to date, because the college guidelines change overnight. Yeah. So always make sure, even 1 week before the exam, that you're reading the most up to date one. Yeah. Because this does happen before. It happened that there was a trial that came up, a trial, not a guideline, a trial for dry AMD. I'm sure some people have heard of it. The big Setako plan, the sort of the injection for geographical atrophy, and that trial just showed up a month ago, and the exam is today. And they asked for the exam, so it's a bit mean, but it happens, and you have to be up to date. Yeah, one way or another. This one is good as well. This is Showa book, and it's okay. And I base my examination and skills techniques session on this book, complemented by the Oxford Handbook, sort of the examination skills. It's good from that side. The rest of it is okay. If you want to go through it, that's fine, but it's not your main go-to. Okay, this one is more exam oriented. All right, and then whenever you see a topic, go read it off from either Oxford or Kansky. That's fine. We've mentioned this one as well, the Oxford Specialty Training book. It's all right as well, but it's again big, and maybe read the topics that are not mentioned in Oxford Handbook. I think at the end there's a few sort of chapters at the end that might be useful. Do your best, but it's not essential. Okay, I have to say. I hope most of you have already read Kansky. Kansky is our go-to one, but you don't have to read it, from cover to cover. Right? Trials, again, there's loads of textbooks out there and sources for trials. You need to read all of them? Definitely not. Yeah, we will cover the most important ones in the course. So the glaucoma trials, the AMD, diabetic, vein occlusions, the ONTT trial, UGOGO guidelines, for example. So there's a few ones that are super important. HEADS trial, very important ones. You don't have to know everything. Okay, at least you've heard of the trial, and oh yes, it showed that this is better than this. or it showed that we should do this in our management of thyroid eye disease, for example. Just bullet points. If they ask in more detail, who cares? Yeah, it's not a good investment of your time before the exam. That's my opinion. But obviously, if you please feel free, go through the trials. It's up to you. I've read more than 100 trials before the exam. Did I remember any of them inside? No. Yeah. So just the most important ones are crucial. Guidelines. Okay, we discussed that the NICE guidelines are very important. Not many out there, and you will be guided by the whatever source you're reading from, and the course as well. So I'll guide you to them, and the college, as we again discussed earlier. Not all of the guidelines are important. Just read the most important ones that most of us will know, based on the course and the blue book. And this is the good medical practice guidelines for those who are not in the UK. Super important, especially if you're going to come to the UK to work. Yeah, something like consent, something like Gillick competency. Yeah, I don't know, those sort of things that you will not know on your own. Okay, even for those who work in the UK, oh, I've never heard of this before, but unfortunately it does get asked in the exam. So and this is an easy source, it's not rocket science, just a sensible sort of document, as if you're reading the newspaper. It's not that tricky, but again, you don't have to read all of it. I'll guide you to the important ones, but not the whole thing, okay, because that's a waste of time. Right, so I think all of us have gone through these stages at the beginning. I'm too junior, I haven't done well in my written, I'm not that experienced. You doubt yourself. Yeah, my suggestion is get out of that comfort zone. Yeah, go for it. Okay, go for it for sure. Do not postpone things. Okay, I'm coming from the future and telling you, do not postpone things. Get these things read and done with, whether you're a trainee or someone overseas. If you want to go through the portfolio pathway, do these things quickly. Okay, do not postpone. It doesn't get any easier, doesn't get any better. Okay, your responsibilities will get worse with time, and financially as well. Yeah. And then you practice, you improve, and you start building up that confidence, and then you just hit it hard and go for it. Even if you don't pass from first go, it's not a big deal. It's experience. Yes, it's more money, unfortunately, but just keep going at it. I know someone who's passed after the fourth attempt, I believe, or fifth even, and they were fine at the end. So just believe in yourself, I think. I'll talk you through a very quick sort of list of to-do tips. Be prepared on the day. All right. Speak with previous colleagues. So previous experience is extremely important. Yeah. Whether it's good or bad, you learn from others' mistakes. Okay. What's common is common. All right. That's another tip. Do not waste your time reading about honeycomb retinal dystrophy. We don't care about this. Listen carefully to the questions. If they tell you examine the right eye, do not examine the left eye. Yeah. Listen. Yeah. Listen and focus. Do not go off topic. That's not going to give you more marks. Yeah. Have a second to think. It's always, again, I attended sort of different courses before about communication and confidence and stuff like that. Thinking, so people appreciate when you think. Yeah. Do not be too rushy. I'm to blame with that as well. I don't really pause to think. You have to think, especially in the exam. All right. And structure. You have to have a structure in your answer. Surgical sieve. Oh, this could be traumatic, could be idiopathic, could be inflammatory, could be infectious. This is a nice way of differentiating things. You stay structured, confident, consistent. Yeah. Do not stare in the ceiling. Yeah. You have to be confident for what you're saying, even if you don't know everything. But be careful. Do not be too confident, because that sort of backfires. And we'll discuss that in the next 2 slides. Eye contact. This is simple sort of communication sort of tips and tricks. You have to be nice to the patient, and it shows that you're calm. If you throw in a nice joke or something, or a compliment or whatever, that's fine as well. But again, don't do it too much, because that will backfire as well. When you ask about a technique or a specific skill, it's always nice to say, I personally do it this way. Yeah. You're not going to do it in front of them. They just want to know how you do it. That's all. I personally prefer doing it that way. Yeah. Or my unit does it this way. Yeah. Even if you're lying, yeah, even if you've never done a tap and inject in your life, that's the proper way to do it. Yeah. Do not say, number one, do this, number two, do this, and then do this, and then no, you say, I personally do this, yeah, and then I take a needle and put it in. I dab some iodine in, or that sort of way, yeah. It just automatically shows that actually you've done it before, yeah. But then just be skilled in acting, yeah. It's a skill to learn and master. You have to be quick, efficient, especially in the OSCE. And then if they ask you a very tricky question, do not waste time and just keep staring at the ceiling. It's precious waste time. Just say, I'm not sure. Yeah? Cut it short. Sometimes, or actually not sometimes, they always in the OSCE, there's an escape question. Yeah? If they ask you a question and you're not sure of it, there's another tip or a clue they can give you. It's an escape question, we call it, yeah? And then and if you get that right, that's fine, but probably you might lose a mark because that's prompting as well, yeah. So just bear that in mind. So it's not the end of the way. Let's say if you don't know anything, they'll tell you this. Okay, Mustafa, imagine this is a case of whatever, yeah. Tell me how you'd manage it now, yeah. So they've got you toward the correct diagnosis. They're not going to let you discuss the wrong case, yeah. So they always guide you towards the right the right path, yeah. So don't worry from that side. Patient safety, you have to show that you're a safe consultant, and you don't have to know everything. It's always good to get help from colleagues. I'm going to refer them to another specialty. I'm going to discuss it with my colleague. Do not say senior colleagues. It just shows that you're junior. You are the senior colleague, okay? So treating you as the consultant, and especially in the ethics and attitude stations, you've got a trainee with you. You've got a junior colleague with you. You're the lead, and then you're doing this. They're always addressing you as a senior person, yeah? You're not a junior anymore, okay? You have to be aware of the guidelines and protocols. Remember, if they ask you about a guideline, that means that it is guideline, okay? So be confident saying, oh, yes, I've heard of that, yeah? You don't have to say I've heard about it in GMC or whatever, but usually there is a guideline. And if it's a clinical, it's either NICE guidelines or the college guidelines, yeah? But if it's a ethical one, if it's an attitude station, then usually it's the good medical practice, yeah? GMP on the GMC guidelines website, yeah? Whether you like it or not, there is always going to be a station that is new, okay, that we did not cover it in the course, you've never heard of it before, that was just published, for example, a new guideline. It's not a big deal, okay? So remember, it's for everyone, it's not just yourself. So do not panic. And again, that's a skill, it's not easy. You have to take it easy, you have to remain calm, and then take it step by step. And they will help you. Once they notice that most of the candidates don't know what it is, they will be a bit more, kind in their marking. And just describe what you see, do whatever you can, examination and differential, and just be sensible and safe. I think that's quite okay. Yes, you might not get 3 out of 3, but who cares? You're at a level of a junior consultant, okay? General, you're not specialized, and this is a very important bit, okay? If you're the top LASIK person in your country, they don't care about that, okay? And we'll discuss in this next slide, do not argue with the examiner. If you argue with the examiner, that will backfire. Yes, you're too confident. You think, oh, actually, I think this is this. I have to disagree. I do it this way. Never do that. Yeah. Whatever they say, you just follow their lead. Yeah. And it's not a place to argue at all. Yeah. Maybe on your own time in a conference, but not now. So just be that junior level. It's very tricky when you're that senior in that specialty. You're too confident, and it shows. Okay, the examiners are very, they're experienced, and they know quickly that this is their specialty. Yeah, but remember, it's my specialty as well. Yeah, and there is always this debate, so try and avoid it. Yeah. Another tip I'd give you is try to stay hidden in the exam, meaning do not make them remember you. A very good example is wearing a white coat. Yeah, we never do that in the UK. It's simple, but it just shows that it's weird. Yeah, do not wear a perfume, especially ladies. Do not put too much makeup. Yeah, do not wear very fancy clothes. Very simple. No suits. You don't have to wear a suit. Yeah, easy. A shirt. Again, it's very warm inside. Shirt is fine. No tie. You don't have to. You can again, just keep it in the way and stuff. So just stay hidden. Yeah, low pace. Confidence, and that's it. Yeah, that would be another tip I'll give you as well. We discussed clinical trials. You have to sort of know some clinical trials. Practicing a lot, that's essential, whether it's the slit lamp or the direct pupil exam, everything. Extraocular motility, that's another one that people miss. And then the question is, this person, he will get FRCOphth today, and then we'll appoint him as our colleague consultant tomorrow. Should I trust him? That's the question they ask. Yeah, is he good enough? Is he safe enough? You have to ask yourself this. Some stuff not to do. Yeah, avoiding red flags. Remember, red flags is not a fail, by the way. Yeah, if you miss a diagnosis of an endophthalmitis, that doesn't mean that you necessarily fail, but it might be a red flag. Especially if you're training in the UK, they might send this sort of red flag to your education supervisor as a way of learning. Yeah, you have to mention it in your annual appraisal. You mention it to in the ARCP. So it's a red flag in your training that needs to be fulfilled. Yeah. If you're rude, big no. I know someone who failed because they just hit the patient's nose with the slit lamp. But if they apologized, it could have been okay. But he sort of panicked and he did not apologize, and he missed stuff, and so that was a mess. So be wary of that. Yes, it's just a shame to do that effort and spend that money and then just fail because of a slit lamp. Yeah, or a patient's big nose, for example. Do not argue. We mentioned this. Do not say anything stupid. Yeah, it something, or to put it in a nicer way, something weird. Yeah, that he has no clue what he's saying. Yeah, he's making that up. Do not make things up. Okay, it's an act, yes, but there's a red line. Yeah, make sure that you're not overpassing that line, that you're in your comfort zone. But it's okay to lie a bit what you're saying, but just make sure that you're a good actor. Yeah. Do not waste too much time. We've mentioned this. Do not panic, especially in the communication skills. Sometimes, obviously, the communication skills is always, an actor. It's not an actual patient. It could be a patient, but I don't think so. It's usually an actor, but they're very good. Yeah, and sometimes good in a way that they actually scream at you. Yeah, an angry patient. I remember my patient had red ears. He was screaming, and some colleagues smile. They just panic and smile. It's just a normal reaction, when someone, you can smile. And that went really bad. Yeah. So that person failed because of that, and that sort of patient was shouting at them and saying, "Is it funny? Yeah. Do you find what I'm saying is funny? I'm really sort of annoyed, and you're smiling and you're laughing." And that just messed the whole station, and that sort of put that candidate at lots of stress because they just smiled. They were not meaning to offend the patient, but it just happened. So be professional, I think, in the comms, and obviously we'll discuss all of those tips and tricks in the course. As we said, if you don't do well in one station, it's not a big deal. Just focus on the following ones. This is the cherry on top, I have to say. Okay, we finish the course and we finish it by do the whole course and then finish it by the hands-on examination skills. We do that roughly a week or two before the exam at Keeler HQ in Windsor in London. Obviously, it's usually packed. Around 30 people on average attend it. I try to keep it at that sort of maximum. and maybe a similar number attended online. For whatever reason, they cannot come, especially if you're overseas, because you will pay more money. Obviously, if you come early before the exam, you'll pay more accommodation and stuff. If you've got somewhere to stay, that's excellent, then you can come. But if not, that would be a challenge. Just attend it online. We'll obviously broadcast it online. And as we were discussing now, it's a very good idea to send the previous recording to the new batch so they can watch it and just start practicing before their, way before their exam. So it's always a good idea. Obviously, it's included, okay, so you don't have to pay extra for it, but for those who were not in the course, they pay a small fee to attend it, whether online or in person. And obviously, we'll decide on that closer to the time, and I send sort of an invitation and closer to the time, but this time round, we'll do it on the 1st of November, okay, Sunday, the 1st of November, so put that in your calendar if you want to attend. Let me show you a video. Should work.
Hi, I'm Nicola and I'm Head of Clinical Education for FRCOphth. It's been a pleasure to see how this course has evolved and to see how the delegates attending are able to learn so much from Mustafa and his education that he's providing for them on these group education events. So my relationship with Mustafa has been building over the past 2 years. We first started our very first event in the Western Eye Hospital, and we have seen these evolve. And it's been great to see the passion that he has for education, for teaching, and for helping with these examination skills and techniques that make the delegates feel so comfortable on their sessions with him.
Hello everyone, I'm Mustafa. I'd like to welcome you to the Keeler course here today in Windsor. For those out there, you know what we've been doing for some time. The Revise and Conquer course has been running for some time. I'm really proud of how people are receiving it. I think the most important thing that we're doing here is hands-on practice. So people are very happy with the chance of them giving it a go. And that really reflects on how they perform in their exams. So I'd like to show you a few sort of insights of what we do on this course, and I hope you enjoy it.
It's been a super thorough course. I think Mustafa's gone above and beyond in terms of the content that he's provided us with, and it's hard to even think of like anything that could have been missed out. So I feel like I've had lots of exposure to everything. He's been pretty, insightful, and all his resources are very expansive.
The examination skill course was very useful. I was very worried about the direct ophthalmoscope and, trying to remember the things, but then we went through everything and now I feel a lot more better about it. Overall, I'm quite happy with the course, and hopefully this will reflect my exam and I'll pass.
So that was last year, I think. Was a very good batch. And yeah, so we've been doing this again since we started, and it's around 2 or 3 hours. So the first sort of 2 hours we have volunteers sitting at the front, and then we examine and discuss the sort of examination techniques, and then at the end, last hour or two, it's a free flow. You get to practice with your colleagues, and the only downside is there's no patience. Yeah, so I think at some point in the future we will hopefully try and get patients, but I'm not sure when exactly, because that's a whole big other deal. It needs lots of prep and admin work and stuff. So, but we do practice with each other, which is as good, because we've been practicing the whole 4 months on videos and cases and stuff. So that should be fine. And I'm relying on you to practice on your own time, in your own practice in your clinic. So that's essential. Well, that's been going very well, and I'm really proud of this. Slit lamp thing. I should have put an adapter on the slit lamp, and I show you the slit lamp techniques, which is super important as well in the exam. Because yes, they're not going to ask you in the exam, please show me how to do specular microscopy, or specular reflection. They won't do that, but they will, perhaps, if you miss the data. Yeah. So if you think, oh, the cornea is normal, I can see an iris defect or something. But what about the cornea? Can you look at the cornea properly, please? Look carefully. Can you show me how to do an endothelial exam? And then you're stuck. Yeah. So that's why this basic examination skill is very important. Slit lamp illumination techniques, super important. So Isra is asking again about the OSCE and Viva sort of weightage. No, so stronger OSCE is essential if you want to pass the Viva. Yes, so if you fail the Viva by a few points and the OSCE you do very well, yes, you can pass the whole exam, but not the other way around. Okay, OSCE is more important. Always think of it that way, which makes sense. Yeah. Obviously, these are lots of people we joined us in the course. Most of them are already in the course, but some of them are externals and they just wanted to come and attend the killer session, and that's it. That's fine. I tried to be as flexible as I can. Okay, and yeah, I'm just very flexible. So if you've got any concerns, if your situation is a bit awkward, let me know, and then we'll think it through. Remember, there's always a recorded version of the course. You can always be sent the previous recording, although I'd suggest strongly to attend it live, yeah, because that's where the benefit is. But yeah, lots of new colleagues, new friends. I really like making new connections, and I now know hundreds of people, so that's quite nice. Right, so on the left, that's the old version. Okay, on the right, that's the new structure that we're going to follow next month. Okay, on the 2nd of August, we're going to start. I think that would be a bit better. Okay, and I think it would put people at a bit more ease. That maybe it will give you some more time to prep before that week. So I'm going to read a bit of anterior segment stuff before the session, so I can answer better or whatever. We'll see. I think it might be better. And I'll try and make it sort of the first 11 sessions or so less exam oriented. So we'll try and discuss more rather than stress people out. But then at the last sort of more 4 exams, that would be timed, that would be more stressful, that would be more exam oriented as much as possible. Yeah. But still, the OSCE and the Viva stations would still be interactive. Okay, so I'm going to call out your name, and then you can answer the station. Yeah. And obviously, the more you answer, the better. Okay, so don't feel shy. Hit it hard. Hit it hard, and you'll definitely benefit. You'll not regret it, I'm sure. Obviously, all of the sessions are recorded and shared on the group every week, so you can access it until the exam, and even after. If you don't pass first go, I will leave the access open for you for the second time. I don't mind that at all. Okay. Because that's a question I get asked a lot. Handouts, again, I send out handouts for each session. The OSCE is just a list of the diagnosis. I don't like to put lots of questions underneath because that will confuse you even more. Okay, so that will, because you will go off on that other source and read it, whether it's the Blue Book or Oxford or whatever. So there's repetition, so I don't like that. I just write the diagnosis, that's the OSCE, and then the Viva, that's more written, okay, because I write down the guidelines, I guide you to where you can find this sort of trial or whatever. So it's more talk, yeah, and it's more reading rather than practicing. So that's why the Viva would be a bit longer. But handouts are very important. Obviously, these are only for the course, attendees. So please do not share them with everyone if you can. That would be really appreciated. And we'll discuss shared material in a bit, okay? Because I'll tell you an incident that I was not happy with, and we'll discuss it in a second. But anyway, that would be the structure on the right. The last session likely is recorded from a year or 2 ago, summarizing the cases that we've covered, okay? So roughly all the cases, and then obviously there's the killer skills session, which is on the 1st of November, as we discussed, and we'll send out an invitation close to the time. So why us? Okay, so why Revise and Conquer? I'm sure you've heard of other providers. Okay, so there's other courses out there, and it's inspiring. Okay, so I have to say, most of the people who are doing courses now have actually done my course. So I'm really proud. Maybe I've flapped it up, or maybe I've flared this in them, that, okay, why not me? You know, I want to do this as well, which is excellent. You know, it's perfect, because it's the best way to learn. You know, it's just to teach someone else. So it's the weakest is to read something, maybe to watch something that's a bit better, but then implementing it and teaching it, that's a whole other level. Yeah. So if you want to really master something, you have to teach it to someone else. Yeah, that would be my home message. So yeah, 80% pass rate roughly, up and down. So I think the last one was about 76. The one before that was 85. So up and down, but roughly around 80. Yeah. Which is perfect. I'm not expecting, you know, everyone to pass the exam, but 80 is excellent. Yeah. Whether you're UK or international. Interactive, yeah. So again, lots of resources. We do all of our talks are interactive, and it's always advisable to, you know, volunteer. That's the whole benefit of this thing. Do not be shy, okay? Especially girls. For some reason, girls are very shy. I don't know why, but it's a very friendly environment. You know, it's not it's not a blame culture thing. Yeah. Feedback. So many times, people who are not successful, I chat with them outside of the course, very friendly sort of chat, and we talk over the phone, and we go through their feedback. Why did they not pass in their previous attempt? Yeah, so that's included, and, you know, make use of it. It's time. So and just, you know, we tailor some improvement points according to your situation, and we just advise you how to focus on those. And there is another option that I've offered, is a one-to-one mock. Yeah, so if you think, I haven't volunteered much in the course, I've been too busy, I'm not that confident in, you know, discussing cases in front of people, there's a one-to-one mock, but that would be an extra. Yeah, on the side, just me and you, just doing a full mock exam. Yeah, online still, but then it's just focused on you, and then there's no sort of stress of anyone else watching. Yeah, so have a thought about that as well, if you need. Yeah. But then, yeah, just again, think about the feedback, which is super important. You have to speak with someone who can judge you from a non-biased sort of point of view. Flexible training, you know, yeah, it's a hybrid sort of thing. So most of our teaching is online, but then there's the hands-on skills. It's recorded, so if you cannot attend, let's say you can attend only half an hour, who cares? You know, you just walk in, attend, watch. Even if I call out your name and you're not there, just ignore my call. Yeah, that's fine as well. There's no pressure. I don't like pressure, you know. And by the way, I don't like deadlines as well. You know, so others say, you know, deadline of signing up is next week. Early fees is less, or, you know, late fees is more. Uh, I, I'm very flexible from that side. Okay, so we're super stressed enough in our lives, so I'm not adding more to your stress. If you want to join the course from today, that's fine. If you want to join, you know, a few weeks before we start, that's fine as well. Even if you miss a few sessions, you are going to get the recordings of the stuff that you've missed. Okay. I usually do cap it, yeah, so I usually put like 40 or 50 people maximum, but that is not always the case, okay, because it's a bit harsh to, you know, ignore someone who really needs support and help, you know. So I rarely say, okay, the course is full. I never do that, okay. But usually, from my experience, it's roughly 40 to 50, not more than that. Yeah. Obviously, if you want to read more, you know, and more, this page is very nice as well. Reviews, yes, and if you read those, are very important tips. I haven't updated them for a while, but because I think these are more than enough, you know, to read and just, you know, get a few tips from your previous colleagues. Really helpful, yeah, on the website. Let's watch this one as well.
So I thought Mustafa delivered the course really well. So I think the main things that he does really nicely is that it gives everyone a chance. It's also very upfront and honest. You sometimes need to hear that as a candidate. So it really helps you kind of work on the errors and also at the same time know what you did well.
So I think it was a really good chance to kind of go through all the examination techniques, but then also to hear what questions other people had, what other people are struggling with, and maybe go over some things that I hadn't thought about myself.
So particularly today, it's been great to actually practice all the different stations that we're going to get in the OSCE. It's good to go through the structures and make sure that we're covering all the points and things that examiners are going to be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that I haven't thought about myself that other people highlighted, and it's good to be able to do it together and kind of face to face, because you might not get the same kind of weight attached or importance attached to something when you just read it in a textbook.
Yeah, just really great course to build confidence for the exam.
I'd strongly suggest joining this WhatsApp group. It's in the ophthalmology community one. I'm not sure if you're on it already or not. This is general, okay? So this is not just for the course, just general sort of advice, and even, you know, I've got lots of other course providers in that group as well, sharing their own sort of courses and stuff, so it's for everyone, yeah? And I'll share again the QR code for the FRCOphth support one, which is a different one, in a second. So frequently asked questions, I'm nearly done. I've got, obviously, majority of the candidates are doing the FRCOphth exam, but a few are doing the FRCS, which is absolutely fine. You've got your own slot if you wish, but the structure, as you can see, is not according to the FRCS, okay? It's the same material, so same cases, you know, same guidelines, same stations, especially the OSCE, yeah, it's the same cases everywhere in the world, but the stations might be a bit different. And, you know, if I remember correctly, all of the FRCS candidates who got the exam, they passed, okay? The FRCS is easier than the FRCOphth, okay? They all passed. It's not tricky. I think the only tricky bit is the general medicine station. Yeah, so general medicine and neuro-ophthalmology, and I've got a recorded session for it as well, just covering a few important cases. But obviously, I'll advise, you know, whether you want to read more about some cases related to ophthalmology and medicine. So that's the only downside. And obviously, the good side is that you don't have to read all of the 5 stations and the you know, the attitudes and ethics and stuff like that. It's a bit more particular for the FSO because it's basing its curriculum according to the training curriculum here in the UK to work as a consultant. So for the FRCS, it's not the case. Yeah. So certainly, it would be very useful for you as well. As I've said, you know, 50, 40, roughly. In addition to some other people online, yeah, sorry, as a recording, so obviously there's no cap on that. That's fine. Let's say you've got other responsibilities. I cannot promise that every week will be a Sunday. Majority will be Sunday mornings, so in the UK, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. UK time, according to other responsibilities. Sometimes we can't do that. Sometimes it's a Saturday. Sometimes we split the session, maybe 2 hours in a weekday evening. So there is some flexibility, but I cannot promise, you know, exact dates. Unlike other courses, when they sort of give you exact dates, I cannot do that, unfortunately, because, as you know, I'm on my own. Yeah, so others might sort of help each other, you know, so they can, you know, cover for each other. But for me, it's just me, and I'm leaving this on my own. And it's working, you know, so it's working well. And if you miss a couple of sessions, it's not a big deal. You will get the recording anyway, yeah? But just do your best to attend as much as possible, yeah? Obviously, the downside, previously, if you miss a mock, then you can have a chance to answer this station in a different mock, yeah? But now, we don't do it per module. So if we do the anterior segment and you miss it, you won't have a chance to do the anterior segment until we start doing the 4 mocks, yeah, at the end. So let's say you miss a session or 2 in the modules, then before the mocks, let me know, and then I'll save you a slot to answer this case if you wish, yeah. And that's very normal, yeah. So lots of people sort of text me, please can I do neuro next visit or something, and then we do it. That's fine. Anyway, that's fine. You can still join at any time in the course. I don't mind at all. But obviously try and join earlier so you can benefit from the interactive sort of sessions. That's the best way to go forward. That's a very annoying, interesting debate. What if others get access to the recordings? Because, yes, the way I do it is I use it on Google Drive with a secure access, yeah? So I have to approve the access. So when you request access to the video, you have to be writing your name, so I know who you are. However, some people have been screen sharing or attending with each other, or even giving their email access to someone else. There is no way to prevent these things. Nowadays, in this era, you can never prevent it 100%, okay? But we rely on people being honest and being sort of credible in their words that this is just for themselves. Because it did happen before. Someone elsewhere overseas, they texted me. I've never spoken with them before. They said, Dr. Mustafa, thank you very much for the course. The recordings were very nice. And then I said to him, who are you? I don't know who you are. How did you get access to the recordings? And then that person said, oh, actually, someone sold them to me. Yeah, for like $20. $20. Yeah. And that seemed really, I really felt very bad. Yeah, $20. Yeah, so to sell recordings, you really undermined the course and undermined the effort put in it. Sharing things for free is not nice, but even selling them, that's not good at all. And I hope no one ever does it again. And I'm sure my courses are out there somewhere, but it's not acceptable at all. It's not professional. Yeah. Alan Tang is asking if I can't attend or miss the session, can I request for a recorded session? Yes, we just said that all of this is recorded. Okay, so every week, so I do the session this morning and then I send the recording on the same day, midday or evening. Yeah, so you can always access the recordings. Obviously, try to attend as much as possible. It's always an issue with the Far East. I can see from your name you're probably from the Far East, so it's always an issue. But people are so keen. People do stay up late and attend and stuff. But in the majority, as I've said, will be a Sunday morning. So that means in the Far East that would be like midday. So it should be okay. So as I've said, you are welcome to attend the course again if you wish. I cannot promise that you won't be paying another fee if you sit again, because it just won't be fair for others. However, we can spend time on your feedback. If you've got previous feedback you haven't passed, we can sit and discuss those. You can do the extra one-to-one mock session if you wish. You would have access to attend the Keeler session again for free, because you've done the course before, so technically you should be able to attend it for free, even the session after that, especially if you haven't attended before. Yeah. But Keeler is a bit sort of, 50-50% because there's a limit on space as well. So it's not just my decision, it's their decision as well. So we'll see, but I don't think that will be an issue. Right. What else? Yeah, and then hopefully, I'll get this message from you, when you pass, hopefully. This is it's as if it's my graduation, so I really wait for this day from course to course, because it just feels, yes, I've done something nice, and my effort is not in vain. Yeah. And I always the way I think of it is ignore the exam. The good thing about all of this is getting to know new colleagues, new friends, and more importantly, to benefit, to learn, just to improve yourself and learn everything new, every day or so. That's the whole point. Ignore the exam. The exam is just one step. Yeah, you will pass eventually, but it's how you'd pass. Are you progressing as an ophthalmologist in your career? So Gulban was asking, when is the course starting? We're starting on the 2nd of August. Yeah, so that's the 4 months. And if you do the math, we might need to squeeze in a session or two in weekdays as well, because the Sundays won't be enough. So we might be sort of doing a Sunday full session, and then next sort of weekday we'll do 2 hours, and then another 2 hours on a Saturday or so. So getting closer to the time, it will be a bit more tight. But every course I struggle with that, because I have to wait until the results of the written are out, and then people can join in. So I just don't want them to miss the first couple of sessions, if possible, because the majority of the people sitting the course are the ones who's just passed the written. So 2nd of August, feel free to sign up whenever you wish. I don't mind. I'm not expecting it to be fully before we start. It never happens, but it does get full in between. Okay, so as we go along, people keep joining every week. So there's no like deposit or anything like that. You cannot secure a slot. It doesn't work like that. But just do your best to attend. To sign up sooner rather than later if you can. Yeah. This is the last video. Go to watch some feedback. Not sure if you can hear it. There was sound. I'm not sure where is the sound. Anyway. Yeah, there's no sound. But anyway, so these again some of the feedback I've got, and some of the thankful sort of messages. So I'm really grateful for those. Those were very nice. Has anyone got any questions they want to ask before we close? This will be recorded, it's already recorded, and it will be shared on the YouTube channel. Okay, so I will send the link as well on the on some of the groups. So feel free to get in touch if you've got any other questions that we haven't asked. Yeah, I think. Nearly done. Sorry, because I spent too much effort on doing these videos, so I just want to show them, 34 marks over the past. That was a very good. That was a very good mark. Yeah, and these are my contact details. If you've got any question, just let me know. The main group is the FRCOphth group, okay, but that gets filled up very quickly, and I think it's nearly full already. So if you join and it's full, then you have to wait until someone else leaves, and then you can join. Yeah. This one is open, so it's a community, and then it's got 4 groups for each exam. So please join either of them, and this is for everyone, So feel free to ask any questions. It's really useful. I would strongly suggest joining them. Right, I'm done. Thank you everyone for listening, and good luck. Any issues, let me know, and I hope to see you soon on the course. Okay, so good luck. See you soon. Bye.